The title of my speech today is My Quarterlife Crisis. Sounds funny. Does anyone know what a quarter-life crisis is? Okay. Pete, can you tell me what it is?
A point in your life when you have a big concern about aging and may experience a sort of identity crisis at that point.
Okay. Anthony.
Well, when you say quarter, I'm thinking mid-20s, assuming you live to be 100, and then your life is in crisis.
Okay.
I was gonna say it's kind of like a midlife crisis, but not really because you're not at that age yet. But you are at the age where the intimacy versus isolation stage is supposed to happen.
Okay. Thank you all for your opinions. The goal of my speech today, we're going to cover 3 things. I'm going to further explain what a quarter-life crisis is. Secondly, I am going to talk about the signs of someone who's experiencing a quarter-life crisis, and I'm also going to share my own personal experience and how I was able to identify that I was experiencing a quarter-life crisis. And lastly, I'm going to give you all tools on how to survive a quarter-life crisis. According to the Washington Post, a quarter-life crisis is usually between the ages of 18 to about 32, where an individual feels like they're really confused about their lives, their goals, their objectives, and also their purpose in life. This is usually characterized by a lack of motivation, could be personal life, with their career, or simply just with life in general. It could also be characterized with a lot of confusion and a lot of frustration as well. Frustration in the sense that them not realizing that they're going through a transition of really understanding what life is really all about. You know, like when you're really young, you have this idea of how the world is supposed to be. But once you become an adult, you realize things don't always go as they quote unquote should go in life, and you really just have to kind of like roll with the punches a lot of the times. And for usually people like myself who are really strong-willed and really have atypical personalities, it can be really confusing and really terrifying to really think of. So I can probably say that I am currently experiencing a quarter-life crisis. It's something that I've come to identify. So there have been multiple events that have happened that really helped me identify what I was going through. I mean, for sure, I did find myself experiencing a lot of frustration. I felt like I was trapped. I felt like my parents had lied to me my whole life because their idea of how the world functions or should function just wasn't matching up with my reality. So the 2 events that actually happened, number 1, a personal relationship of mine, I guess a romantic relationship of mine, ended. And I somehow had this idea that this person was supposed to be my forever. You know how everyone always tells you, hey, this guy, I think he's the one, I know he's the one for you. And you somehow accept that idea. And unfortunately for me, well, now fortunately for me, that relationship ended. But when it ended, I was really devastated. I couldn't imagine my life without this person. I couldn't even see a life beyond this person. But at least I can, feel like I can now say that I'm really grateful for that experience. Number 2, I really found myself having a lot of difficulty at my job, with my career. I think in the last 3 years, I have experienced a lot of emotions, a range of highs and extreme lows when it came to my career. So I graduated about 4 years ago from American University. I had this idea that I would go on to be an accountant, a super successful accountant, and would potentially make partner by the time I was like 33, 34, be one of the youngest female accountants at any of the big 4 accounting firms. Over the last 3 years since I've worked at a big 4, I realized that this is a lot harder than I anticipated. And oftentimes I somehow question myself, is this really what I want to do for the rest of my life? And every day I would go into work wondering, is this really what I want? I still find myself questioning, constantly having to answer that question, literally on a daily basis, and sometimes on an hourly basis, which is actually terrifying. As you all know, I took a sabbatical from work last December. I took that sabbatical hoping, maybe this is just a phase in my life, and this is something that I can work on as long as I prayed, I fasted, and I did everything I was supposed to do religiously. And now that I've been back, it's been about 6 months, I'm realizing this is simply not working for me. So what's next? Guys, to be honest, I don't know. I am trying to roll with the punches. Another significant event that has happened has happened and keeps happening is the idea of becoming a CPA. So as an accounting student, you're expected to have your professional license once you graduate from college. I have tried multiple times. I've been taking classes. I've won scholarships to take study classes to pass the exam. And you know what? I attended one of them, and then by the second class, I was just like, I'm done with this. And it's been a roller coaster ride for the last 2.5 years. I'll find myself 1 week, I'll study consistently for 4 hours, and by the next week, it was over and done with, and find myself rescheduling my exam. It recently just hit me that my heart just simply isn't in it anymore. I no longer want to be a CPA. And the most ridiculous thing, just even thinking back, last year I took a 2-week trip to Thailand just because I didn't want to tell my parents that I didn't want to take the CPA exam, just to kind of like prep myself to have that conversation with them. So this has been my personal experience struggling with my quarter-life crisis. So like I indicated, lastly, I'm going to talk about the tools and survival skills that anyone can apply to their personal life while transitioning or going through the same process that I'm going through. Number one, that would be try new things. That means explore your interests, your likes. Number two would be talking to people. I realized I try not to talk to people that are my own age because you realize that their life experiences are really limited. So a lot of what I've done is talking to people who are significantly older than me, are well experienced within their careers and also their personal life as well, because it just gives me a better understanding and a better spectrum of how life works and how things work as well. And lastly, seek advice and also talk to people, and seek advice and also seek professional help if you need to. I know based on the research that I've done, a lot of people while they're going through a quarter-life crisis really deal with a lot of depression and a lot of frustration as well. So if need be, I would recommend anyone seeking professional help. So in conclusion, if you're able to identify someone who is experiencing a quarter-life crisis, again, talk to them about exploring new things, talking to others about their issues, and if need be, they seek professional help. Thank you all so much.